What is up, my bodyweight warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be trying something a little bit different. And that is a DNA test. This one is from DNA Fit, which I would like to say thank you to them for sponsoring today's video and making this happen. I've been meaning to get a DNA test and do this for a long time. When they reached out to me and offered me an opportunity to do it and work with them, I thought it was a really, really cool idea. And let me give you some context as to why. And that is because of this book, Metabolic Typing. This was part of my nutrition qualification. I read it and went in a little bit more detail about it, but it changed my view on nutrition a lot. The aspect of individuality, something that I preach a lot on this channel. You need to apply this information to you. Every time I work with a client, we start from scratch, we look at the individual. There's never any preconceptions going into it. And I think that's what's missed of a lot of the diets that are out there. We look at veganism, carnivore, paleo, low carb, high carb, all of this sort of stuff. They're all just dogmas. They're all just preconceived ideas of how a human diet should look. And it never considers the individual. That's why you get some people who have great results on one diet, and then there's also an equal amount of people who don't have great results doing that diet. And that's because it doesn't suit them. And that's a very important thing to understand. I personally feel and perform best, in my opinion, on a lower carb diet. I have higher animal products, I have a decent amount of meat, decent amount of fat, a little bit lower in carbohydrates. And I feel good doing that. But I've got to that point after several years of just experimenting, eating different foods, playing with different things and going, how do I feel when I eat this way? And then I've also been using some blood markers in more recent years. What the DNA Fit test does is it kind of puts a genetic marker on that. It does look at, for example, your carbohydrate and fat metabolism, as well as some genetic markers for fitness, like aerobic fitness and likelihood of injury and all these things that I've otherwise figured out for a little bit of trial and error. And it'd be really cool to get some concrete kind of testing on it. So something I never do, I'm gonna actually read the instructions for this one. So all I have to do, it appears here, is just swab the inside of my cheek with this thing. Right, so all we've got to do now, I'm gonna swab my cheek an entire minute apparently. So here you go. There you go, side. Alright, that's done. It's done. Sometimes I question like why I film myself. Right, apparently we just go put it in here, snap, in it goes, done. Sweet, so this is it, all done. I now need to go and just send this one off.
Several days later.
Right, so it's time for the results. It's now been, I think, about 5 days. I actually got the results yesterday and I've resisted looking at them until today, but I did have a quick glance through just to double check things before I share them with you. But I'm just gonna basically go through things now and kind of give you an idea of where I ended up, just out of interest, both in terms of fitness and in terms of nutrition. So let's find out what they recommend to me. Right, so one thing I do know that you can do is you can download an infographic which kind of gives you an overview. That's probably going to be the easiest way to explain this. Here is the overview, the infographic page. This is the only thing that I've looked at. I just had a glance at this and I was like, cool, let's see what we can figure out from this. We have DNA Fit, so that's the exercise aspect thing, that's what they recommend, and then we have the diet aspect. So whilst I'm interested in the DNA Fit thing, I'm pretty committed to the handstand bodyweight life. It's kind of what I do, it's what I love doing, so I don't think it's going to change me much on that perspective, but it might inform like some of my practices. The diet stuff I'm actually very interested in, based on like years of experimentation and figuring things out for myself. I want to see how much I got right and how much I sucked at. Number one is power to endurance response. Apparently I am 49% power, 51% endurance. Perhaps more to the endurance side of things. From previous experience, I suck at endurance stuff. But then again, I've never really trained. I've only ever done explosive stuff. So apparently I have potential there, but I'm not going to be doing any endurance stuff. My closest thing to endurance stuff is like 60-second plus handstand holds. Anything apart from that is just, yeah. What I thought was interesting is the fact that I have a high injury risk. And if you've been watching the channel, then you know that I've suffered from injuries over the past year, 2 years. It says here, if I go into the fitness genetics, Right, so in the injury predisposition thing, it tells me that there's a variation of genes related to collagen that can make some people more predisposed to tendon and ligament based sporting injuries, which, as you know, I suffered from medial epicondylitis, which is basically tendonitis of the inside elbow. That and then bicep tendonitis. They kind of all put me out for like 14 months. So at that time, I was training like probably 3 times a week hard with a lot of sets, and I was doing a lot of one arm chin up stuff and handstands like 5 or 6 times a week as well as those sessions. Ultimately, that's what led to me being injured. It was just a lot of work. Now my approach is much less. I do much less frequency, but I still keep the intensity pretty high, and I feel so much better. So potentially if I'd have known this, possibly I wouldn't have wasted 14 months being injured in the first place. That would have been kind of nice. I'm more interested in the diet aspect of things. So straight away, it's given me low carb as the optimal diet type, which, as you know, that's what I've come to. But it's taken me like 3 or 4 years of self-experimentation to get to that point and feel pretty confident that feels good for me. So it's cool that that kind of confirms that. Now, there's a bunch of stuff which I'm guessing it bases this off, and I could go into more detail, but I don't want this video to be like 20 minutes long. So I'll give you a few things that immediately caught my eye. Number 1 is saturated fat sensitivity. Now, it says I'm a medium here. I used to do like more bulletproof. I used to do a lot of bulletproof coffee. So that's like butter, lots of saturated fat, coconut oil, more saturated fat in coffee, blend it, drink it. I did a blood test maybe like 18 months ago, and I had kind of elevated cholesterol, and I also had some elevated inflammation markers. And then intuitively, based on research and sort of the stuff I've done, I was like, okay, let's cut down the saturated fat a bit, still maintain high fat levels in macro, but let's change it from saturated to monounsaturated a bit. So I dropped some of the butter, I dropped some of the fattier meats that I was eating, and I opted for some more olive oil, some olives, some nuts, some more fish, some leaner animal cuts. And yeah, next time I did the blood test, like 4 or 5 months later, those elevated cholesterol level went back to normal. My inflammation markers dropped, like everything went back to normal. So I only would have known that based on that blood test. If I hadn't have done that blood test, I would have probably carried on with the high saturated fat thing, and those markers could have got worse and could have caused me issues in the future. So this kind of indicates it, and this quarter, that kind of would have helped me out a lot, because yeah, that could have ended badly. The second interesting one is kind of the supplement recommendations. I did a supplement video recently, quite in depth, went into all the supplements that I use. I'll link that one down below. But omega-3, B, and vitamin D, these 3 things is something that I've had supplemented. Again, because I did a blood test, or do blood tests regularly, I found that 1, my omega-3 to 6 ratio was low, so I had poor omega-3, so I immediately started supplementing with more omega-3s. I felt so much better. Number 2, my B12 was high because I was taking a multi which had B12 in, and apparently my need for B12 is normal and less, so I probably get enough from my nutrition. It's not something I need to supplement. So that's super interesting, because those 2 things, again, I figured out from a blood test, but if I hadn't have taken that blood test, having elevated B12 levels for a long period of time isn't necessarily a good thing. So again, this kind of could have caught that. So the last thing I wanted to mention is caffeine sensitivity. It puts me here at a slow caffeine responder, which if you know anything about me, I love me some good coffee, and probably to a flaw. I have in the past experimented. I've had less coffee. I've had like 1 cup a day, or I've only drunk espresso coffee, which has like half the caffeine than filter coffee, and I feel so much better. I do genuinely feel so much better. It's just that I love coffee. So I currently limit to myself to about 2 cups a day, and I feel fine. Like I feel good doing that. I know I feel better on less, but I just like coffee. So that's kind of that infographic's kind of just a snapshot. They've actually got like a bunch more information, and they go into specifics, and they also give you recommendations based on the like outcome of the genetic test. I will see if I can make any changes based on that. It kind of, for me, this has confirmed a lot of the stuff I already do and have figured out over the last few years, but it probably would have saved me a lot of time if I'd have just done this to begin with. But, you know, I think probably the one thing I will change will be caffeine. I think I should really reduce my coffee intake. As much as I hate to say it because I love it, I will try and do that. I guess we'll check in a few days, and we'll see how things are going on in terms of reduced caffeine intake. We're back. It is now 3 days later. Yes, we're still drinking coffee, but this is my one and only coffee of the day, so we must treasure it. I am drinking 1 espresso. This is about 70 milligrams of caffeine, as opposed to a filter and an espresso, which would have been sort of 240-ish. So it's about a third of what I was having beforehand. I do feel better for it. I feel like I have more energy, which is great. I know this. I know I should keep on doing it. I think what I might do is start drinking a little bit more decaf coffee if I can find some good decaf coffee, and that way I can still have my ritual and my enjoyment, and then reduce some of the impact that has on me. But that's just one of the things I think I might change based on this assessment. I need to go into more detail about it. I haven't had time. It's only been a few days now. I thought coffee was kind of something easier that I could change straight away, but I think there's definitely more detail that I'm going to go into and just take a look at, because I've certainly been more focused on my coaching and my YouTube and my work and all the stuff that I'm doing, and I'm just kind of been getting by with what I can in terms of nutrition. I've been trying to eat as best I can, but you know, sometimes life is busy, as I'm sure many of you are aware. So I think I'm looking forward to taking a little bit more of a dive back into it and paying some more attention, just being more aware about it. What's your favorite food? Is it cheese? So that's basically it for this vlog today. One thing I do have to mention is there is a very special deal that you exclusively can get. You can get a 50% discount on this package if you want to give it a go and you're interested to see what your results would be. If you use code WARRIOR50, you'll get 50% off, and if you do use it, get your results, please Instagram me, send me a story, send me a message, send me an email, let me know. I'd love to hear what your results are. I think this is super interesting. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button and support the channel, show that you're enjoying the videos. If you have any questions about today's video, let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be happy to answer your questions and help you out. When you're down there, you can also tap that subscribe button and join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe so you don't miss out on any more future videos or any more updates to this series. But that has been it for this week, guys. I will catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and peace.